Hello and welcome to episode 1044 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, April 26th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. It was a good weekend and didn't have to do a ton for Fab this week. You and I were just kind of talking about, off air, and
A little bit lighter.
yeah, it was nice to not like stress out. Like, oh man, am I gonna get this guy? Though I did make a couple big bids in like the tag team league with Shelly, and like we just cannot seem to be aggressive enough. We bid $146 on Emilio Pagan, thinking we're gonna
And
get that.
That didn't get him?
No, it did not. We were the
Wow.
runner-up bid, but I think he went for like 180 something.
I mean, I've made my feelings known on him. I still worry about him being a full-scale closer. I know he got the 2 saves, and I
Yeah,
agree with him as a pickup, but with the home run rate of his career, I do wonder how long it
I
can
do
last.
wonder if it's going to be pretty short-lived. But the Twins have a pretty easy schedule
Mhm.
the next couple weeks. And Shelley was a big proponent of, hey, let's take the shot here. And we thought we were being aggressive. We
I
were
mean, that is
not.
aggressive. I would
Yeah.
not let yourselves be fooled into thinking that that was not an aggressive move. That was, but
But other than that,
losing there.
it was a pretty quiet weekend. So
Yeah, it wasn't too crazy. We're gonna get into a few guys that were main event targets, and then we'll get into some young pitchers that are pitching really well and kind of where we're at with them. These are some up and coming studs, some established studs that are just performing to expectations. So we'll get into that first, though. A little bit of Jakob deGrom injury news, and it seems pretty positive. I know there was some concern of like, oh, why are they taking this time to say it? Because it should be quick. After the scan, they should know right away. Are they crafting a statement? Well, the bottom line was they've seen quote unquote considerable healing of the stress reaction on his scapula. And he's been cleared to begin loading and strengthening of the shoulder. He'll undergo another MRI in 3 weeks to check his progress. So, nothing else beyond that. It's encouraging news, but I'm not sure how much it moves the needle. Where did you come out on this Jakob deGrom news?
I mean, it's good to see that he is progressing back. This doesn't make me feel any more, comfortable with
Yeah.
him long term. I mean, we still have, unrepaired, elbow issues that dating back from last year. So I feel like he is, once he does get back, he is somewhat of a ticking time bomb that
Who
could,
isn't, though?
yeah, it's true. And
And
not, and the other ticking time bombs in the league don't have the ability to be the best player on the planet.
yeah, and that's what deGrom has. And it's not to suggest that because with his injury, he does not have a heightened risk. My only point there is just that every pitcher is under an immense amount of risk just by virtue of pitching, and that we make these risk splits that I don't believe exist, wherein deGrom's all the way up here and name a healthy guy right now is down here when it should really be like right here and here. Like deGrom is higher, but everyone else is like, if you're pitching, you're right there. You're always on
Yeah,
on the knife's edge. Is the only point I'm trying to make there.
I think that's a fair point.
And that's the thing. So if you bought him, are you putting him in as soon as he's available?
I
If you
think
got
you have
deGrom?
to.
Yeah, I
I
mean, I know
mean,
I would.
yeah, I only have him in one league. It's a league where I desperately need healthy bodies. Um, so I mean, he will definitely go straight back into my lineup. Or actually, I think I'd have him in a dynasty league too. But yeah,
No
I
deGrom
mean,
for me,
it's
unfortunately.
encouraging that
Yeah,
he is the was it scapula injury is healing well, and that hopefully he'll be interested to see how long they make him rehab for. Like at one point you want to keep it at a little conservative so that way he heals properly and doesn't overload it. And at the same time, how much do you want to waste the bullets in rehab starts? So the
exactly.
Mets are doing well, so maybe they can afford to play it more conservatively.
I could see that. Yeah, 12-5, best record in the National League, Best record in baseball, actually, so far for the Mets. So, deGrom dealing with was an elbow that morphed into a shoulder, and we'll kind of see what's going on. But hopefully he's back sooner than later. I don't even have him anywhere. I just like watching him pitch. Let's talk about a few key ads for the week and kind of where you came out on them. Just cherry picking a few names here because there were some other guys that we could have covered. It was a wide open week. Nobody was like really the go-to big ticket item. You might have had a guy or two in your league that wasn't available in others. Like Colin and I had a chance at Jordan Hicks in a main. Well, that was the only main where he was available. He wasn't available in others. Like things like that might have cropped up, but otherwise, a bunch of different guys that were kind of similar. Where did you come out on Jakob Junis? I'm obviously especially interested in what you think because he is on your Giants now. And that was kind of where I was with him. I was just kind of buying in specifically because it was the Giants more so than anything that he's really done. He's shown flashes in the past, but it's always come with too many homers and too many hits. Really, it's just been too hittable. But now he's 29. He's on the Giants. Can they maximize Jakob Junis, and where are you in on him?
I was in on him this week. I mean, it was smaller bids, like $7 to $15 bids. But I got him in a couple spots, and I'm starting him this week because he has a really nice matchup against the Oakland A's.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he looked good in that first start. I'll caution people that it was against a Nationals team that does not look particularly good, except for.
But Oakland is that too.
Yeah, so
right. So you get another.
And there's a
great
number
start.
of teams in baseball where like you can just go, I can start just about anybody here. Arizona being one of them in the Giants division.
Mm-hmm.
So I've not really been a big Jakob Junis guy in the past, but I'm a big whoever the Giants are throwing out on the mound guy.
Yep. And that's what drove Colin and I. We got him for 26 in our main. That was actually the 6th highest. The max was 38. Unfortunately, they played in a league where nobody else was all that interested, so the backup was 6. The other 4 30-something dollar bids all at least had double digits behind them, 26, 19, 14, 15. So you don't feel so bad there. And even 38 to 6. If you really like a guy, of course you'd rather be lower, but being that high, being 32 over somebody that's not going to kill you. That's not going to kill you. And Junis could be something. Again, I gave the cosign. It was the Giants cosign there that drove me into being interested in Junis. What about Glen Otto for Texas? He had a nice start on Friday. This was somebody that I was seeking out. This is why I don't have more Junis, because I had Otto ahead of him. So I got Otto in multiple spots. I think he's got a chance to stick. I think Spencer Howard and Taylor Hearn are not blocking off Otto if he's pitching well. He actually had some pretty good skills last year, but some wild volatility with a 423 BABIP that drove a 1234 hits per 9 and a 46% left on base rate that ensured damn near every one of those guys scored once they got the hits. But he had an 18% strikeout minus walk ratio, Otto did, which is pretty solid. He looked good again in the 5 innings on Friday with some good swing and miss. He doesn't walk guys. If he has command of his stuff, he's not giving up too many homers. I think Glen Otto could stick here and be something pretty useful for the year. What did you think of Glen Otto in Texas?
He has impressive stuff when he can command it. He gives up a lot of hard contact, though, which is a little bit scary as part of the problem last year. And we've already, early on, we've already seen like when he does give up contact, it's hard contact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the park will shield him from a little bit of that hurting him. And he has done a pretty good job of keeping homers in the ballpark, not just this year and last year, but throughout his entire career. I mean, you look at his homer per 9 throughout the minor leagues, it's insanely low, like how few homers he has given up over the course of his minor league career. So that gives me a little bit of confidence that he can keep that in check. So it's just a matter of like, is he a guy who runs higher than normal BABIP because he gives up so much hard contact, and even though it's not going over the fence, does it find holes and hit walls and things like that. So I like Otto though, and I know you and Eno are even bigger fans. So I did not get him anywhere this week. I had priorities other places on other guys, but I may kick myself a little bit for not taking that. He's got a rough start, I think, this week, right? I think he's got the Astros. So
back-to-back rough starts, Houston and then at Philly. So not easy to see. And if he stands up to those two, that's going to be very encouraging, but it's not easy. I didn't start him everywhere I got Otto. There were some leagues I could afford to not start him because Houston's coming up on the docket, and I'm not going to, I pushed it with like my boy Lorenzen, and that did not work when he faced Houston. Otto is not quite in that level for me where I'm like, oh, just go for it. It's more
teammate
like
Dane Dunning pitch against Houston last night.
He pitched well.
The only concern, I don't know if you saw this, his velocity was 88 miles an hour.
Oh, I did not see that.
He did not even break 90.
I will include that on box score bits. I did not see that. I saw that the box score.
The slider was
pretty good.
Slider was great, but his stuff was down about a mile and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty big. That's pretty big there to not even be over.
Yeah, you have to wonder, like, he's a guy they really protected and didn't let go more than 3 or 4 innings last year. And, we see this all the time, like, oh, guys, leave the bullpen or leave, shorten, starts and stuff like that. And they lose velocity. He seems like a guy who may not have the kind of velocity if he wants to go 5. Great to see him go 5 2/3 yesterday. But
yeah. Good outing there for Dane Dunning, and I do think he's somebody who is a pretty traditional streamer. You can get some definitely get some good use out of. I probably consider him a team streamer in 15s as well, where I don't really want to throw him back into the pool. What about this guy who also throws a little soft, but he's from the left side, so it's a lot more passable from when Bruce Zimmermann is only coming in the 90 to 92 range, but been looking sharp. 27-year-old lefty for Baltimore, 27% strikeout rate, 9% walk, 13% swinging strike, which is backing up that strikeout surge. He has a 1.20 ERA and a 1.13 WHIP. We know he's not going to be that good on the ERA. He gave up his first runs in this last outing against the Angels. But I've been impressed by the fact that he's gone Milwaukee, Yankees, Angels to put up these gaudy numbers off rip. Bruce Zimmermann, someone that's been hitting your pickup radar.
Yeah, he's a guy that I traded for in my 30-team dynasty league, and then because I lost like both Lynn and Giolito to start the year, so in a 30-team league, yes, thankfully he's back, but I got Yoscar Noah sent down. So
oh jeez,
and it's a league where there's nobody available, so you've got if you want to make a pickup, you've got to trade for people. And I picked him up in a couple other spots as a streamer. He's done well. I'm kind of taking it start by start with him. I think there's some real blow up potential. He gives up a lot of hard contact. When he does give up contact, I think he's only got like a 30-something%. Yeah, 38.9% ground ball percentage. And he's been a guy who's been over 40 and sometimes even close to 50% in the past. So he's letting a few more balls into the air in a lot, allowing a fair amount of line drives. He's actually doing a pretty good job of limiting the hard contact this year. Oh, that's interesting. Letting the ball pull a lot. You got to wonder how much this part change is helping him.
Although that would be the opposite field for lefty.
Oh yeah, you're right.
There. But it is interesting, right? Because no one's going to be confused and suggest that Baltimore is doing well. They're 6-10, but they've had some pitching performances that have stood out as their silver lining right now. As you look up and down the pitching, you're like, it's not just John Means, who's now unfortunately hurt and out for the year with TJ. It's it's
but he's not getting TJ yet, right? That hasn't been announced, right? He's just got the forearm strain.
No, it's TJ.
Oh, did they say TJ?
I think you missed that during your
during
your excursion. It's done. He's done.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I saw it from Alex, so that's how I knew.
I figured it was coming. I had dropped it.
It was leaning that way with John Means. If you didn't cut him already, you can now. But the 60-day IL was That once
That
that
was a
happened
good sign,
so
yeah.
quickly, it was over at that point, unfortunately. Hopefully he comes back. I love John Means. He's so easy to root for too. So I just hope that he gets healthy. But Bruce Zimmermann, there might be a little something here. I am still getting over my anti-Orioles pitching bias from their previous regimes and how inept they were at developing pitchers. And I've been trying to pull back on that a little bit and not just dismiss every Oriole out of hand. I got a little Tyler Wells love. He actually has been the worst of their bunch, interestingly enough, but I think he's got some decent stuff that could click into some streamer viability. Zimmerman's popping off. Jordan Lyles is who he is. He's a veteran who's, he'll have some deep league streamer viability at times, but it's got to be.
Where I love guys like Jordan Lyles.
Where?
I love him in a dynasty league where you need to get over a certain threshold, but you're trying to rebuild.
Yes, so you just want to make sure
you need to get a certain amount of innings.
Yes,
but you want them to be bad innings.
Yeah, you're like, I don't need you to be having a break.
Dallas
go put up 180.
Yeah, exactly. So
Lyles had 180 last year. You're like, give me another 180 like that. But I'm gonna keep an eye on like Chris Ellis, the guy that they got, former prospect, just to see, because now Baltimore, I'm at least caring about Baltimore pitchers now, just because I think the new regime deserves an opportunity to see if they can develop guys because of what we've seen out of Zimmermann so far.
I want to point out too, like Zimmermann hasn't had necessarily like an easy schedule either. He's not.
That's been the most impressive part.
Yeah, Milwaukee, the Yankees, and the Angels. Like these are legit lineups. So Milwaukee hasn't been great yet, but
few lineups have been great, but those are still lineups that are challenging. So I've been impressed with what Zimmermann's been doing. He was a little bit lower on my list again. Otto and Junis were ahead of him, so I didn't get Zimmermann anywhere, but I did have him as a consideration in there. Basically the same price for all three. I just had my preference for Otto. Alec Bohm has already had an interesting season, and it's a couple weeks old at this point. Obviously, he had the big 3 error game that led to him saying, "I effing hate this place about Philly," and he's like, he owned it completely. Said the emotions got the best of me. Of course, I love this place, and we all say stuff when we're in the heat of the moment. I totally buy that. Like I take that for what it is, and so did the Philly fans. They accepted the apology. Meanwhile, he's dominating. His plate skills are back on track. 14% strikeout, 11% walk. His slash line looks excellent. 314, 364, 457. Power's not off the charts or anything. It's really the hit tool, contact, and walk rates that we're seeing right now. The one thing about the strikeout rate, though, his swinging strike rate is 15%. That doesn't really support a 14% strikeout rate. So I do worry that there could be some regression in the strikeouts. But it's hard to be upset with what Alec Bohm is doing so far. Was he somebody that crept into your considerations because he was available in a decent number of 12 teamers? Oh, you're not.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he wasn't available in any league. I was
not your thing. Yeah, but what do you think about that?
I mean, I've always been a Bohm guy. Or actually, since he's been in the majors, I actually was not a Bohm guy when he was in the minors. The reports I had gotten were not good. But since he's been in the majors, I kind of came around on him. I wish I'd gotten him in more leagues.
With the discount.
And, people in 10s and 12s should check their wire.
For sure.
Because, early on in the season, he wasn't playing. But now they've sent down Bryson Stott, and Didi Gregorius has been dealing with injuries. He's going to play every day. The team is committed to him publicly. So I think they're, and we're starting to see that launch angle rise. Like the big issue with him has been the ground balls. The launch angle is still a little bit low. It's like a 9-degree launch angle right now. But that's better than the 4s and 5s we've seen the last few years. And when he makes contact, it's really good contact. There's obviously going to be regression, but his ex-WOBA is like 427, which is like top 10 in the league.
That's nice. And it's not like Bohm has some crazy BABIP either. It's 313. That's perfectly fine. Like there are things to like here. I'm not too worried about this as far as like, even though the power isn't fully there and the strikeouts are going to go back up, I think there's some viability here. Like you said, check your wire because I think he's still going to be available in a lot of 10s and 12s. So
absolutely, because he only's got one home run. And people often sort by home runs and stolen bases.
And they're not going to see a whole lot there from Bohm, but this is still a guy with a ton of upside. We really liked him. You and I did coming into 21 off of that shortened season. It was a flop. It was as floppy as flop can get, but we always talk about not quitting guys like that. 417 plate appearances, just as the 180 wasn't enough to say that he's a beast. Now 417 is not enough to say he sucks. So we're somewhere between still. I think it's still unwritten who Bohm is. So if you're buying back in, I think there's some upside there. So those were just some key guys that were getting added: Junis, Otto, Zimmermann, and Bohm in 15s and 12s, depending on where he was available. In 128 online leagues is where Bohm was getting picked up. Those other guys were mostly picked up in 15-team formats. Now I want to talk about some young arms who are pitching very well and just kind of get your read on where you're at now, 3-4 starts into the season with these guys. And obviously they're all, I think, pretty much auto starts, at least in the leagues that we play, which is generally deeper. We'll talk about their viability in 10s and 12s as well. I think a lot of them are auto starts in those formats too. But let's start with Tylor Megill. He kind of got the ball rolling early with that opening day start in Jakob deGrom's stead, and he hasn't looked back. His velo's up off of last year's, a full point to 95.6 miles an hour. Strikeout walk ratios look excellent. Results have been tremendous. 2.35 ERA, 0.91 WHIP. He has, even just in 4 starts, he's built on what he did last year, and he looks very impressive. Is Tylor Megill arriving? Are you buying into this as a breakout season?
I am. I want to, that one start against the Giants, didn't go so well.
Did you watch that?
I did.
I was so impressed by his rebound though, because
yes,
the Giants were attacking and they did something that they went against plan. And Keith was on it. Keith Hernandez was on it. That's why they're one of the best broadcasts. They're not just entertaining, but they're so smart. And he was on it. He was talking about how they usually take a bunch of pitches, and it seemed like Megill was maybe trying to get over with not his 100% best pitches for some early strikes. And they said, "Oh, we're going to hit this trash. You're coming in with the 90% fastball instead of your 100%. Boom, 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 hits." But then he adjusted and still went 6 innings. So he was pushed around by a tough team. I really liked how Megill rebounded in that outing after San Francisco got to him a bit. So continue there, but I want to highlight that outing because that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, he was thrown with some reduced velocity. I know he said after the game that was by design, that he was trying to dial it back a little bit. It's still concerning when you see a guy all of a sudden go from, throwing 96, throwing 94. But
he was right back at 96 last time out.
Yeah, and he was 95, 96 last time. So that feels a little bit better. Yeah, I think he is. I think he has kind of arrived. This is unfair, but I'm gonna say it. I'm nervous when it's any Mets pitcher. Like I'm just nervous.
I get it.
It's not fair. This is very much like us like penalizing Rockies players because they're on the Rockies.
Because they're dumb.
It's a new organization.
The team, not the players.
But there is like the same thing with the Angels pitchers, right? Like I get this uneasy feeling that things are going to go poorly at some point because it's the Mets. And it's not fair because he looks really, really good. I said after his first, start of the season, I was like, oh shit, I fucked up. I should have drafted him. like this is not gonna go well for me. I'm just gonna be missing out all season long. But I do think he has the makings of a stud. I'm not ready to anoint him in the same way that I might be willing to anoint other guys on this list. But I think he is well on his way.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about Megill. About the, to make it about me for a moment. The only regret I have is that I didn't go in with the mains. I got him in 4 leagues, but it's like all the DCs and stuff. And then
he got pushed up really high.
He did, but I was still like, I still liked him. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I waited that extra round there. And I'm not afraid to go get my guys. So it wasn't anything like, oh, I won't pay 15th round price. In fact, when I took MacKenzie in the 14th, I debated the two, and I said, let me get MacKenzie. I'll
Mm.
get Megill on the way back. No, you won't, you stupid idiot.
Yeah.
But I don't regret MacKenzie because he's off to a solid start too. And I still think there's a lot of upside with him. I would feel I do like Megill higher though, because he doesn't have the injury history that MacKenzie has. And again, to go back to my earlier point, that doesn't mean that they're this far apart in injury risk. And I've got my hands very far apart for those that can't see the video, but they're more like this far apart, where I do think Megill is a steadier health bet right now, but they're both pitchers. So you never know. But anyway, I like Megill. I think there's so much to like here. I hear you on the Mets gonna Mets thing though. It just is that uneasy feeling.
I mean,
it is shit gonna happen too. It's not even like a normal thing. You worry about like the goofy thing happening.
Yeah, you know, them leaving wet towels on the ground and players slipping coming out the tunnel. Like, you know, I mean,
high key slipping on a banana peel.
Yeah, exactly. All the random shit that like shouldn't happen, but does apparently with the Mets. But the Mets are good, man. They are legit. Like, you know, they took team. 3 out of 4 against my Giants. I now have to wear a shirt of Michael Simeone's choosing at FPAS.
Ooh,
that's gonna be a problem.
I didn't know y'all had a little bet on that.
Yeah, I had a little bet.
I watched almost all that series just because it was 2 good teams. It was such a good series to watch. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I watched them all too. It was great.
The Giants are not fading, y'all. They're not going to win 107 again because I wouldn't really predict anybody to win that.
Yeah. But my bet for them to win, I think, is 86 games.
Yeah, it was. You told me the over/under was 86.
Yeah, I hammered it while we were in Vegas. I also put I think a couple hundred on them to win the World Series because the odds were so unreal. So
they're a great team. The Giants are really, really good again. And
Jock Peterson, like I know we talked about him last week, but. Like
what a team to go to, though. The platoon guy goes to the platoon team. It's such a perfect fit.
Yeah.
He will never have to see a lefty, probably even in the games he starts, because they'll take him out even when the lefty relievers come in. Like, he is.
They did yesterday,
feast. Yeah, he's going to feast. I love Jock. He's so easy to root for, too. Let's talk Shane McClanahan, the 24-year-old lefty, 25-year-old, age 25 season, left-hander for the Rays. He's fully panning out to the narrative. So far, it's 22 innings, so I shouldn't say fully, but you know what I mean? Like, everything that his believers kind of mapped out for this year is playing out so far. His stuff is super nasty, and he looks like an even better version of the guy we saw last year after a couple of sub-5 inning starts to open the year because his pitches got ran up a little bit due to his strikeouts. So it was almost like a good thing because he had 7 and 8 strikeouts, so they had to take him out. I mean, they didn't have to, but they did. He's gone 6 and 7 innings in his last 2 starts. I had McClanahan for like 170 plus innings of basically what he did last year, which was 3.43 ERA, 1.27. I don't want a fully confirmation bias off 22 innings, but I think he's here. I think the only thing that really stops him would be health. I think the talent is unquestioned for McClanahan. What do you think?
I do wonder like how many innings they let him go for.
I think 170.
If you get 170 from him, and me too, because I definitely traded for him in Tout Wars. He was my return for Craig Kimbrell after Kimbrell got announced as closer.
I like that. That'd be 47 more than last year. That's not an egregious jump.
No, that's not. I must have. Oh, because he had some innings in Double A. I didn't notice. So yeah. Or maybe nope. I'm just looking at the wrong player page. That's the problem. I'm looking at Megill's player page.
Oh, Megill's page. Yeah. No, he had a 123 last year in the majors. And so I think, I don't think they'll go like 200 with McClanahan, A, because they don't really do that, but B, because they have October, in mind as well. So they want to save some gas in the tank for October. But I think 170 is reasonable enough to get him to 170 with 30 starts and still have some juice in the tank for October. So if he stays healthy, I think Megill gets a full allotment of starts this year. Excuse me, McClanahan. I think Megill does too, but I meant McClanahan. Pardon me.
Yeah, I've been super impressed with him, especially because he hasn't been like super fastball heavy. Fastball is kind of the worst pitch.
I know.
It's the secondaries that are really, really good, but he's like he only he throws the fastball 37% of the time. Like he throws everything and keeps hitters off balance, and the secondary stuff is so filthy and overpowering.
It's a deep arsenal too. He's got 4 legit pitches.
Yeah, I've been super, super impressed with him. And pitching in Tampa Bay helps. Like, you know, we
Absolutely.
hear guys talk about how much they hate hitting there and the batting eye, and like that's beneficial to the pitchers. And so yeah, I'm a big fan. I think he has ascended. I think he is legitimately a top 15 starting pitcher and probably even top 12 at this point.
Yeah.
I'll
I
probably
think
start doing some kind of re-ranks of my starting pitchers at least coming up here soon.
same.
For the Patreon people.
And we will have a Q&A. We will be scheduling
Yes.
that soon. And the watch parties will start back up in May. A little bit disjointed for the first. We did the opening day one, and then schedule has been a little bit off. But I will confirm with you offline. We'll get the watch parties going, and then we'll do the Q&A for people, and we'll have a text. Like a post up in the Patreon where you can leave your question. So if you're not live at the Q&A, you can still get your question answered. That'll be coming up within the next week or so. And then the weekly watch parties will start on next week, week of May 4th, right?
Nice.
Is that, or no, May 2nd is Monday
Sunburn.
next week. So the week, I'm not saying it's happening on May 2nd. I'm saying it's the week of May 2nd. We will schedule a game for that. But yeah, McClanahan, velo up, ground ball rate up, stuff is there. I have zero questions about the talent. It's just about staying healthy with Shane McClanahan. What about Alek Manoah? This was a guy I expressed a little bit of concern with coming into the season. And, I'm not going to fully eat the L and just say I'm wrong off of 18 innings because first off, I kind of want to be wrong. I'm not saying that to avoid an L. If he's great, I will fully say I over panicked and I'll munch on those L's. I was worried because he's a 2-pitch guy, difficult division, little bit of a home run and platoon issue. How's that going to go with him? So far, no issues at all. He's pitching exactly like he did last year, which is very well. 25% K, 8% walk, 14% swinging strike, which is actually up a point from last year. Velo is up as well, 94.3 from 93.5. Home run rate is basically the same, 1.0, which is manageable. I don't know where his platoon is at right now. I'm going to look it up. But even if it is what it was last year for Manoah, it hasn't hurt because he's been awesome. So how much am I going to live to regret? It is actually a colossal platoon.
He's getting crushed by lefties, but it's a really small sample size too.
Exactly. 444 BABIP against lefties, but it is 273
the big thing
OPS
for me is 5 walks against lefties.
So is he like what's the word I'm looking for? Like
he's being more cautious, I think.
Cautious, yeah. Cautious, like afraid of them a little bit, where he's like, I don't want to get crushed by them, so I'm going to try to pitch really fine. And like you said, 5 walks against 6 strikeouts, where he's 12-1 against righties. So where do you come out on Manoah right now? And how did you feel about him coming into the year? Because I don't think we talked about him a ton. And like I said, I was just taking a little bit of a pass this year, where I'm like, I hope he kills it. But I'm kind of backing off a little bit just because I think it might be a little dip year this year and then ascent next year.
He was a guy that I was really intrigued by, but I never seemed to get him anywhere. And Shelly and I made a point of getting him, like pushing him up our board in the tag team league just to get him because I hadn't drafted him yet this season. And he's a guy that I've liked for a really long time. He was when he was coming out of the draft, the MLB draft, MILB draft. I drafted him with a first-year player draft in my 30-team league. Like, I spent a first-round pick on him because I was really excited. So I'm glad I got him in that one spot. I'm liking to see that he's throwing the changeup 10% of the time and starting to make it a little bit of an actual third pitch, which is really nice. Definitely want to continue to watch what he does against lefties because he has walked a lot of guys. He's given up contact. It's been, like I said, super, super small sample. It's only, 5 2/3 worth of innings against lefties. And
that was my biggest issue with Manoah was like, will he consistently get lefties out in that division as well, which can be difficult.
I think that's still yet to be determined.
Yeah, which is why I'm not taking the L, even though he's got good numbers right now. And I'll be rooting for him. I hope I will serve that L up on a plate with some whipped cream if I'm wrong, because I want him to be great. He's so easy to root for.
I will make sure you have a Connor Joe sized L.
Yes. We will
when
share
we get
our
there.
we will
Yes.
share our L pie together, because and you're rooting for that one too, because you have Connor Joe in your other main. So you're like, fine, I'll take the L with my freaking badass player here in the 29th round.
Yep.
Kyle Wright going down a little bit, right? You know, McClanahan and Manoah were highly drafted. Megill was well drafted. Like, he was not a sleeper or anything. He was a mid-rounder that people liked. And like you said, he got pushed up in the main. Kyle Wright was not drafted everywhere. In fact, he was not drafted in a lot of spots, just kind of an unknown, a little bit of a post-hype prospect who was number 5 overall pick back in 2017. And despite the fact that he doesn't really have a big sample of work, it came over the course of several years to where I think there was that prospect fatigue, and it was like, oh, maybe this guy's just not that good. But Justin, it was 70 innings from 2018 to 2021. Like, so when you're spreading out 70 innings over the course of 4 seasons, it's a worthless sample. Even if it was 70 innings in one season, it's not that meaningful, let alone spread out over the course of 4 years. So once it started to look like he had a gig, that's when I started to kind of be like, okay, I'm interested here. I'm ready to jump in. And I bought him before the season, not to just fully backpat here, pardon me, but I bought him before the season on our main for Domingo Acevedo for $1, and I never could have envisioned it was going to be this good here. So I'm looking at Kyle Wright. Velo is way up, almost 2 points to 95.4. Strikeouts through the roof, 39%. Walk rate way down, which has been the one thing that's consistently bothered him in the majors, with a 14% rate coming into this year. He's at 3%. He's attacking. He looks every bit like the top prospect, number 5 overall pick. It is a tiny sample at 17 innings, but is Kyle Wright breaking out before our eyes?
If you had, we heard a lot about like, oh, who's going to be this year's Cedric Mullins? Who's going to be this year's Robbie Ray? We didn't hear a lot of people talk about who's going to be this year's Logan Webb, which was a guy that wasn't drafted and still pitched like an ace. And I think we found him. He has been insanely good. I mean, we're talking about a guy who is got a 39.4% strikeout rate, an almost 50% ground ball rate, 48.6% ground ball. Like, that combination is insanity. We're talking about a guy who's like striking everybody out, and then when he's not, he's getting ground balls. He's given up 0 barrels so far this year.
And he's 26. Like, Kyle Wright is not ancient. Like, this is still very much in a growth period.
His hard hit percentage is 17.1%. Like, it's like half of what like league average.
I was gonna say league average is about 35, right?
Yeah. So like, he's doing everything right. And I did not mean to make that pun.
No, it's easy when it's somebody with that last name doing well. You're like, it's the right stuff. I mean, I know it's cheesy as hell, but like, it's been awesome for Kyle Wright.
This is one of those I'm kicking myself, because I've been a Kyle Wright guy in the past.
You didn't get him anywhere?
I got him, I think, in like 2 spots. I've got him in a few actually, I think I have him in a few spots. I know I have him in one of my dynasty leagues. I know I have him in a couple of my DCs, but I didn't get him in either main. And this is a guy that I should have, once it was announced he was in the rotation, I should have just gone back to the well and been like, hey, I'm going to take a gamble here and see what we got. But
the kind of guy you gamble on late when you're looking for those spec pitchers.
Unfortunately, I don't have him, in any like major spots. But kudos, definitely go check your wires, like, just in case.
Always.
10 and 12s, go check your wires, see if obviously in 15s I'm sure he's gone. But I picked him up even in that dynasty league after he had already started showing some greatness. So
he is finally getting pretty rostered. 85% Yahoo, 82% ESPN. Yeah. So,
but that's still 15 to 20% of shallower format
could
leagues.
Be your league. Could be your
never
league.
know.
All formats auto start right now for Kyle Wright.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about Logan Gilbert out in Seattle? This was a guy that I thought had a really nice rookie year. This is the kind of rookie year that I like, where it doesn't generate too much hype because he had a 4.68 ERA, a little bit of a home run issue, hit a little rookie wall in the summer, but then bounced back too. And I love that. I love seeing a guy, we talked about it just with Megill in that start against San Francisco. I love when a guy gets the adversity, but then deals with it and comes through. He hit a rookie wall, Logan Gilbert did, in August of last year. It was mostly just a 3-start stretch. Toronto, Houston, KC walloped him. He didn't go 5 in any of those and gave up 19 earned in 12 and 2/3. But then bounced back for a strong September with a 2.70 ERA and 33 and a third, which included Houston twice, Boston, KC, the Angels, and Oakland. So a mixed bag with good and bad teams. There wasn't just a weak schedule. This is another prospect who is like panning out to the level that people were hoping for. He has an AL best 0.54 ERA. I'm going to go out on a crazy limb and say that's not going to hold, but I love so much of what I'm seeing from Logan Gilbert this year. Is he building on a great rookie year and getting ready for a breakout here? What do you think about Logan Gilbert?
I'm a little more skeptical on this one.
Okay.
I like Logan Gilbert. I love the arsenal. He has multiple pitches that he can go to, keep hitters off balance. He's faced a really easy schedule to start. 2 AL Central teams and the Rangers. And he's gotten an insane amount of, maybe not an insane amount, but he's got a fair amount of infield fly balls. Home run fly ball rate's pretty low right now. He's only given up 1 barrel. It's resulted in a home run. So I do kind of wonder, like, as the weather starts to heat up, as hitters start to adjust to what's going on with the ball this year, because we've definitely seen hitters struggle with the long ball this year. And you almost wonder if MLB is going to change something here pretty quick, especially as things start warming up to kind of counteract that. I wonder if he's going to have some more struggles. But I agree with you. I love to see what he did last year, which was be successful and then really struggle hard. And not only did the team stand by him, he learned from it and readjusted and finished the year strong. I think that's a mark of a really mature and smart player that's going to be successful long term. So I think he's going to be successful. Not ready to anoint him into the Megill or McClanahan or Manoah, or actually I think he's more with Manoah right now as a guy that I'm very intrigued by, I'm encouraged by, but I want to see a little bit more.
Okay. I think that's all pretty fair. I would put him in that Manoah tier as well, right down to the same situation of where I don't have him anywhere, but I'm rooting for him. And I would love to kind of regret my decision just because it would mean that he's beasting. And I like watching Logan Gilbert. He's fearless. That's one thing, it's one of those things where you're watching to figure that out. But that's the vibe I get when he just attacks. He isn't afraid to go after guys. Sometimes that'll get him in trouble, but I like that attitude. And I know, we throw out stuff like that. It's intangible. What do you do with that? I'm not saying it's why I would draft somebody 100% or not, but I like seeing a prospect of this caliber with his talent who is not afraid to just attack and say, here it is, hit it. I'm not going to nibble around here at the big league level. I'm going to see what y'all got. And so far through 136 career innings, it's been pretty good. And I think we'll see more good than bad out of Logan Gilbert this year. But I agree with you. It's not on that McClanahan level just yet where I'm like, I don't question anything. Let's go to Minnesota, talk about the 2 guys there that drew a lot of interest. They're pretty much comps for one another, in my opinion, Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober. And it seemed in my last 4 or 5 drafts that the second that one of them went, the other was going to go shortly thereafter. So if you were at the wrong end of the draft when that happened, you weren't getting it. And I remember that vividly because a couple times Ober went and I'm like, well, there goes my chance at Joe Ryan. And I was correct, including in our main where Ober got taken at the back end there at your end of the draft. And then Scott Jenstead went ahead and said, well, I better get Joe Ryan right now. I don't want to give Paul Sporer 2 more chances at him. I doubt that's what he thought, but he did not have another shot at him. I will say that I was definitely going to take Joe Ryan when he came back. I was just a little too late. Both are pitching well. And I think the most important part is neither have given up a ton of homers. It's been, I think, 2 homers apiece in 16 innings. Yeah, I know. But 2 homers apiece in 16 innings, a 1.1 rate, I'll take that. I can live at 1.1 or better. It's when they start creeping up over 1.1 that can be nerve-wracking. Both are missing bats too. Now, Ober's strikeout rate doesn't suggest as much with a 20% mark, but it's a 14% swinging strike rate that says he's still getting the whiffs. The strikeouts will come. Do not panic. I think both are doing what has been expected of them. They've been great. Were you in on either, and are you in on them still now so far through 16 innings apiece?
I was not.
Bailey Ober and Joe Ryan are who we're talking about here.
I was not in on Ober or Joe Ryan.
How dare you, dude? How absolutely dare you?
I continue to not really be in on them. I like to see what they're doing. I am very worried that the home run rates are going to come back and crush these guys.
I'm worried both. That you're I mean, we all worry about different things. I hate you so much.
I'm sorry. Ober has a 56% fly ball percentage.
Tiny. Barely any.
Joe Ryan is 62.2%.
Hardly any. I never see the ball in the air with them. That's nothing.
Yeah, they're both running with like single-digit home run to fly ball rates right now.
Sustained.
Sustained.
That's my gavel. Sustained. These concerns are fair, by the way. I'm memeing for anyone that doesn't know.
I'm more concerned about Ober than I am about Ryan, but I'm still concerned about Ryan. I think the ball is really, really helping them, and if MLB doesn't change anything, they can get away with this for a while. And they've got great outfield defense in Buxton and Kepler. So I think that there is a possibility they can keep this going.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a possibility this ends really, really poorly for either of them or both of them. And so while I'm these guys definitely would be in a tier below all the other guys we've talked about. I don't think they have necessarily upside of, the huge strikeout numbers that we've seen from other guys on this list. And I think there is a ton of risk here in terms of as things start to warm up, as hitters start to adjust, if MLB does anything to change the balls, this could end really, really badly for both of them.
It could. I mean, because homers are the quickest way to ruin an ERA. But with Ober and Ryan, by the way, I misspoke. It was Ryan who went first, and then Ober literally went 2 picks later. But same vibe there. Like I said, once one went, the other was on cue. Jenstead took Joe Ryan at the end of the 14th. 2 picks later, Dalton Del Don said, well, Bailey Ober ain't getting back if I don't take him here. And again, he was correct because I think I would have taken Ober with one of my picks if he'd made it all the way back. Anyway, your concerns are valid. I'm not going to invalidate those because the home run rates are what they are in their past and the fly ball rates with the homer to fly ball rates that they have right now. However, and I know Joe Ryan is still out running the 4 walks from his opening day from his season opener, but I don't think he's an 8% walk rate guy. Neither of them walk a ton of guys. So these are not usually big time homers, the 2-3 grand slam variety, 2-run, 3-run homer grand slam variety. It's usually solo shots. So you can live with that if you're still getting the strikeouts, and they both are. So that's why I still like them, even though I do grant that a 1-5 homer 9 is very possible with either of them going forward. If not higher, that is definitely alarming. So I will concede the concern, and I will rank them in where you're talking. They are the lowest of this group right now. Kyle Wright has passed them, but I've got more confidence in them to still be fantasy useful across most formats, even as the homers go up. In 10s, they'll probably become team streamers, but in 12s and 15s, even as their ERAs move back up into, say, the high 3s, I think they're still usable every time out for the most part. Occasional tough starts, a bad homer park or a really difficult team, I understand sitting them in shallower formats. But in 15s, unless something changes substantially, I can't see sitting Ryan or Ober.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tend to agree with you completely.
Okay, so we're not too far off.
No,
it's more of like you got a red arrow next to them. Like you're fine with where they are right now, but you think they're going to go down a little bit. I'm kind of more of like
It's
even
more a
then.
matter of like we're talking about guys on this list of players that I absolutely love.
Yeah, yeah.
And that I
All
think
the guys
are
above
like
them are studs.
legit studs.
That's fair.
Whereas I think Ryan and Ober are very, very interesting. I think they're very usable. But I can, like I think the only thing that really, screws with McClanahan or Gilbert or Kyle Wright at this point is injury. Like
Yeah,
I think
the
those
talent's
guys
not in
are,
question.
yeah. I think there are still questions about the talent or not necessarily talent, but the profiles of Ober
Yes,
and Joe Ryan that things could go sideways in a hurry.
because they live on a thin margin with velo,
Yep.
and they have major home run issues. That's
Yep.
that's a disastrous combo that can go super sideways. I think both can survive it, but it does have that risk factor that you're talking about. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think we're in lockstep here, generally speaking, on how we see them. I'm just a little bit more confident that they'll hold it, and you got a little bit more concern that it can come and bite them. But still, get those guys if they're available in your tens. I say go pick them
Yeah.
up right now.
Absolutely. I think especially as the weather is colder in a place like Minnesota and the other AL Central parks,
And
like
until we see the
you,
ball,
yeah,
if
and
it doesn't
unless,
change,
yeah, I mean MLB may just say this is what we're rolling with this year.
God, I hope
Um,
not, though. Jesus, it's so boring to
it,
not to watch the ball and never do anything. It's so annoying. It's so annoying.
yeah, it's
Let's add Skubal into this because
okay.
he was like these guys, right? Now, like these guys in that he was a home run machine. He's got
Hmm.
more dominant stuff than both of them, so he's a little bit different. But he had that same profile of like doesn't walk guys, gets strikeouts, but holy crap, the homers. Coming into this year, Tarik Skubal had a 2.2 homer per nine, Justin. The fact that he only had a 4.57 ERA despite that is actually a credit to him because normally if you're running a 2.2 homer nine, your ERA should be well over 5. But that's because he doesn't walk guys. And so he was able to limit the damage of those homers. I'm not saying a 4.57 ERA is good. I'm just saying it should have been much higher. His 5.52 FIP can attest. So far this year, 15 and 2/3, Justin, 0 homers for Tarik Skubal. Is that just 3 starts in a row where things are going well? Or have you seen any fundamental changes that have you believing that Tarik Skubal has made a key adjustment here?
Um, there is been some changes to the way he approaches batters, and trying to prevent guys from lifting his fastball in the air and giving up those home runs. He's still giving up 3 barrels, but his ground ball rate is up, the fly ball rate is down. He's hasn't sacrificed strikeout stuff in order to achieve this. I think this is a really, really good sign of an actual improvement that could stick. I need to see it over a longer period of time because with Skubal, it's when it's good, it's great, and when it's bad, it's atrocious.
Yeah.
And so there's still some big risk, but it's some big risk with some really big upside. I would slot him kind of in that same spot as Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober, maybe ahead of them, because I think the upside on Skubal's strikeout potential is greater.
Yeah. Bit more dominant.
Mhm. But I also think the floor is lower on Skubal, and we saw that last year. So I like Skubal a lot. I'm really, really intrigued by these kind of changes in approach, and I'm excited to see if he can continue doing it.
Yeah, me too. Obviously, as a Tigers fan, I'm extra dialed in on that. But
Hmm.
I've been really impressed there, and I do think we're seeing some changes where he is having a concerted effort on, hey, I don't want to get beat by the homer here. Let's attack righties the right way. And he has a 14-1 strikeout to walk ratio against them. He does have a 668 OPS, which is not all that high. He hasn't really faced any lefties either. Only 9 at bats against lefties this
Well,
year for Skubal.
we talked about there's not a lot of lefties in the division, so
Exactly.
yeah, I mean
So that's what we're seeing out of Skubal right now. He's going to have to stay strong against righties to continue the success. But I love what we've seen so far, and he's definitely somebody that that could be on the verge of a breakout. And I agree with your ranking where I would put him a little bit ahead of these 3, or the other 2 from the Twins, because he has a little bit more of his dominant stuff there versus what they do with a little
only
bit more of the finesse.
not only has he like done a great job of not giving up home run, only 1 walk given up this year. I
Yeah,
mean, he's attacking guys but he's attacking them in the right way. It's a really good sign.
I completely agree, and that's why he's just one of a few different reasons why I'm not too worried about the Tigers. First off, they have a perfect record right now anyway, 6-9. It's like as nice as you
Nice.
can get. I mean, we should already be in the playoffs, but whatever. Apparently, they're going to make us play out the rest of the games. But even with things having not gone all that well, with Baez having gone on the IL for a bit, some of the hitters not really clicking, the injuries to the bullpen, Mize and Manning both getting hurt. I still think they're in a good position. Chafin comes off the IL today for the Tigers. Their big bullpen acquisition. So I'm still very excited about my Tigers. Let's finish up with MacKenzie Gore, who's already been seemingly through like a season's worth of like news and intrigue already, because he got going in spring and we're like, is he, or not but it was like, snap, is he coming out of last year's issues with the yips and going down the path of Forrest Whitley, and did he peel back and get right back on the elite prospect track? And it looks like yes. Well, then it looked like, okay, he's going to start the season with the team, and then they had the bombshell Sean Manaea deal, and it was like, oh, okay, well now he's not going to start with the team, but that doesn't mean get away from him. Oh my God, MacKenzie Gore sucks, because you can never have too much pitching, and so something was going to happen soon. And what happened? Clevenger and Snell were hurt. Opens the door for Gore. He has walked through that door and looked very strong so far. His first start against Atlanta, to me, looked like a guy surviving. Like, I got to get out where I can get him. I'm not worried about getting swings and misses. And then in his second start, looked a lot more settled in. Looked like a multi-year vet out there. 7 strikeouts and 5 scoreless innings. It's only 2 starts. I don't want to parse 10 in the third too much, but I've been impressed with Gore, and I think he will stick. I think they will figure out what to do when Snell and Clevenger get healthy. Either somebody else will get hurt and create an opening. Maybe they'll go 6-man. I don't think that they're pushing Gore back down.
I think it's going to work itself out one way or another. It usually does. Maybe someone else gets hurt. Maybe they figure out just, a hybrid role for him.
Or Nick Martinez got to figure some things out. Like, he's had the good swing and miss with a 13% swingy strike, but walks are through the roof, 177 whip. I think maybe his clock is ticking as far as a starter. They wouldn't get rid of him, but they could put him to the bullpen.
Yeah, he may be kind of a bullpen, or maybe they make a trade. Like, who knows?
They love trading. That's for sure.
A challenge trade with a team to kind of bolster that offense a little bit, because the offense is
sucks.
Yeah.
So where are you at on Gore then? Are you drafting him? Have you picked him up anywhere? What are you thinking after 2 starts? Because he's still available in shallow.
I drafted him in a couple DCs late as kind of a dart throw, and so I didn't get him in any of my kind of bigger money leagues, and I wasn't willing. I mean, he went. I can't remember if it was our main or my other main, but like he went for like $300 something. And like I don't like paying that for anybody, much less for a guy who's unproven. I've loved Gore in the past. I hope he continues to do what he's doing. I love to see a guy who gets strikeouts but also gets ground balls. The contact he has given up has been hard. So, I mean, I think there's going to be some, tough luck, kind of outings where, he's just is seen a little bit more than maybe he's being seen by hitters. But I think Gore has all the makings of a fantasy ace. And it's just a matter of not when will he put it, or not if he will put it together, but I think when. I think he's going to be an ace in fantasy. I don't know if it all comes together this year, but I think it definitely could. And I'm a little bummed they don't have him in any of my big money leagues. Yeah,
I think you kind of outline exactly where I'm at with MacKenzie Gore as well. I only got him in the DC, the Arizona Fall League one, and Raz Slam. So I'll get all of his good starts there, since that's a cut best ball league. But I wasn't going to pay the big triple digit layout, and it's less about him and just more about budget management. Like, I just don't feel comfortable doing that, because it has to work, or else you're going to regret that money so much. Like, look at where the Josh Lowe folks are, and people are spending upwards of $500-600 on him, and he's not done. But it's been so bad that now I think Vidal Brujan, and you got to be looking over his shoulder for Brujan.
No, they just sent Brujan back down.
He was only called up for Diaz.
Oh, was he?
COVID. But I'm saying like Lowe is going to get sent out Bryson Stott style in a week or two here if he doesn't turn, and Bruhan will be right back up. And
that's
so
that was the thing we talked about with Lowe when we knew he was going to make the team. And I said, like, there's power, there's speed. It's a ton of swing and miss.
And as much as I liked him, I couldn't get much more than low triple digits. I was like, okay, I'll do like 115. Yeah. And if I don't get him, I shrug my shoulders and I say, good luck to whoever got him. Because I like the player a lot, but I couldn't pay the prices that I wasn't close. I was nowhere near at 115.
Yeah. I wasn't even willing to go triple digits. It just, and so I didn't get him anywhere except for I've got him in a couple dynasty leagues, but yeah, he needs to change it. I mean, thankfully he's playing like good enough defense, and he does walk like that helps soften the blow. But yeah, he's not going to be up long if he continues to struggle the way he is.
Yeah, that's what I would be concerned about right now. Is you saw the first shoe drop with Stott. We're going to start to see some of these rookies get sent out if they don't turn. I think Lowe could be next. How long till Julio Rodriguez might get sent out? What do you think about that?
I mean, he's looked better as of late.
But it's a 40% strikeout rate right now.
Yeah, you see him take that bases loaded walk though.
Dude, that was sick. And did you see on the ball 4 when he looked back? Think, like because he's been called out on some dog shit calls. Now,
yeah, he's gotten pretty unlucky. Someone had a graph of like the called strikes outside of the zone on him. And
it's been rough. But even if you took those away, the strikeout rate would still be high. So I don't want to suggest that that's the only thing going on. But he looked back like, you please don't call me on another trash call because I know that's a walk. He does have 6 steals though, so for fantasy, people are probably still pretty happy with what Julio is doing. But again,
he's on pace for like 30 something. Like that's
if he doesn't start performing though, he's going to go down. 60 WRC plus. They will find somebody else, but we'll see. I think guys like that, CJ Abrams probably got to go down soon too. He's been struggling, so I'm not going to go blast teams for calling up these guys because I'd be talking out both sides of my mouth. I was so happy when all these rookies made the team. None of them are really working out, unfortunately, which is kind of a bummer. I hope it doesn't make teams gun shy in the future to do it. The schedule has not blessed Abrams, by the way, either. 5 of their last 6 have been against lefties, and he just doesn't really play against lefties. So that's been tough.
I think it's hard for a guy like Abrams, too. So young. And
he skipped AAA.
Yeah, he skipped AAA. He came off that devastating leg injury. And he's not playing every day. Like he's not getting a chance to get into a rhythm. Yeah. He may need to just go down. I mean, this is a bummer for me because I'm pretty highly invested in Abrams. Took him in the 18th round of one of my mains. Spent money 42 on him.
Games at AA.
Yeah, he doesn't have. Yeah, so he probably needs more seasoning. That being said, like his long-term outlook, I think is gonna be really, really good. I think he's gonna be a stud at some point.
And his plate skills have actually been all right. 20% strikeout, 8% walk for CJ Abrams. So
he's had some bad luck. Like I got to watch him a few times versus the Giants and in other games. Like he's had some bad luck at the plate.
154 BABIP would back up what you're saying there. So again, I'm not out on these rookies, and if these guys do get sent out and get cut, you start to look to maybe stash where you can. You can only, you can't do too many stashes, especially in NWC. We talk about that a lot. But people will start cutting the Stotts and the J-Rods and the Abrams and the Lows. They will come back and they might hit that second time. So,
and this is why I think it's important, aside from the injuries that you can accumulate on your team when you draft injured players, the reason I don't like to stash a lot of injured players anymore is because it gives me the opportunity to stash some of these guys when players drop them. And so, whereas if you invite the risk onto your team, you're in a lot more
already
trouble,
stashing,
and you can't stash guys like
you're already stashing Chris Sale or Fernando Tatis. You can't afford to then take a injury risk or a prospect risk who gets cut. So it to each their own, however you like to manage it. But that's why we don't like to invite the already injured guys and then have to deal with that. But anyway, that's going to wrap us up. We'll be back on Friday. I'm not sure what we'll talk about. Early season is still difficult. So if you guys have ideas that you want to hear us talk about that will help you with the early season management, please let us know. But I thought the shallow league cuts was well received. Although one person did say like, oh, I think you guys are overreacting. I was like, I don't think so in shallow leagues. I'm not saying you have to cut all those guys, but I think you have to be open to making cuts with guys that you would not normally think about, because in shallow leagues, there's too many good guys on the wire. But anyway, that was just one, and he wasn't even nasty.
I'm like the opposite of like being like overly like dramatic about that kind of stuff. I'm typically the conservative one. I'm trying to be more aggressive in my cuts. You know, because otherwise I get myself in trouble and I look at my roster and I'm like, hey, look, I've got 7 guys on the IL on my bench right now.
Is that good?
It's not good.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That is bad.
I've got a few teams like that this year where I've got a couple DCs where I'm like, who am I going to start this week? Like, you know, really middle reliever B or middle reliever A? Like, I just don't know.
That's the worst part too, is like when you
because
just
COVID, man. COVID
now
still hasn't
COVID becoming a thing, and that's like just adding to the issues. But anyway, I gotta get going. RotoWire is gonna call soon. But Justin, great talking with you. I got special guest Michael Govier gonna be tomorrow, so that'll go up on Wednesday, and then you and I'll be back on Friday.
All right, take it easy.